The Expendables 4 has finally released, and it only grossed $8.3 million in its opening weekend domestically. This is not international, but internationally, the movie's going to open up in different territories at different times. So whenever box office analysts look at opening weekend, they always judge it based on domestic. That's US and Canada, because the movie opens everywhere at the exact same time, no matter what. Okay, so the $8.3 million in its opening weekend. To put that into perspective, the first Expendables movie had an opening weekend of $34.8 million, the second movie had an opening weekend of $28.5 million, and the third movie had an opening weekend of $15.9 million. The third movie made so little in large part due to the PG-13 rating when the first two Expendables movies were R-rated, and quit blaming the failure of Expendables 3 on fucking piracy. Oh, it's because the entire movie leaked 6 weeks early on the Pirate Bay. No, it was the PG-13 rating. Even Sly Stallone came out years after the Expendables 3 and admitted that making that movie PG-13 was the biggest mistake that the movie made. The question that I am posing with this video is, why did the Expendables 4 bomb as hard as it did at the box office? This was an R-rated entry, unlike the third movie. It was looking like this movie was going to make up for the shortcomings of Expendables 3. Did the Expendables 3 ruin the Expendables 4 years ago? In my opinion, no. The Expendables 3 came out almost 10 years ago. The pain that the Expendables 3 caused the fan base has long since passed. Everyone's gotten over it. In my opinion, there is only one reason why this movie bombed as hard as it did. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the lack of nostalgia. Now, hear me out on this one. I believe that the damage goes back as far as the casting announcement of these four actors: Megan Fox, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, Tony Jaa, and Iko Uwais. All of these actors were in action movies in the 2000s. Megan Fox with Transformers, that came out in 2007. Tony Jaa with Ong Bak, which I believe was 2004 or 2005. And Iko Uwais with The Raid, which came out in 2011, but it's close enough for government work. The only positive announcement from this was Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, because Sly Stallone wanted him in the first movie, but he couldn't make it work at the time, and that's when Terry Crews took over. I am saying that the Expendables 4 lacked nostalgia because the first movie was a nostalgic throwback to the action movies being made in the 80s and 90s. Even the second movie continued with the casting of Jean-Claude Van Damme and Chuck Norris. Expendables 3 made the mistake of bringing in too many younger actors to try to appeal to a wider audience when they didn't need to. Case in point, The Expendables 2 made more money at the box office than the first Expendables movie did. And Expendables 3 made less than even the first movie because, and I argue it's because of that PG-13 rating and the quote-unquote the wider/younger audience that they were trying to appeal to. Expendables 4 did the same fucking thing that Expendables 3 did. If they had casted someone like Cynthia Rothrock, or Milla Jovovich, or Michelle Yeoh, or Lucy Lawless over Megan Fox, then this movie might have had a better shot at capturing nostalgia. The problem with Tony Jaa is that he is relatively unknown in the world of action movies outside of Asia. Ong Bak is considered to be one of the best action movies from the 2000s. There's no denying that. But Ong Bak did not have the same impact as a movie like The Raid. Iko Uwais became an action movie superstar because even if the average person couldn't tell you his name, all you have to say is, he's the guy from The Raid. And that alone justifies his casting in the Expendables 4, is that he is the modern day action movie superstar. Tony Jaa is someone who is unfamiliar to the vast majority of people. I knew who Tony Jaa was before the cast for the Expendables 4 was announced, and I'm pretty sure that you knew who Tony Jaa was before the cast of Expendables 4 was announced. But that is because I, and most certainly likely you, have been a fan of action movies for my and your entire life. To most people, who the hell is Tony Jaa? Tony Jaa is no Jet Li in that, by that comparison. And that's really it. It's easy to blame people's changing habits of not going to the movie theaters as often as they used to, but why did John Wick Chapter 4 do so much better than The Expendables 4 at the box office? They were both big action movies, and John Wick Chapter 4 was nearly 3 hours long. Expendables 4 is nowhere near that. From the sounds of the casting, from the casting announcement to the behind-the-scenes videos released to Instagram, which I reported on at the time, this movie was shaping up to be an apology for how badly The Expendables 3 was handled. However, in the words of Tim and Eric,
you blew it. Capiche?